Noam Chomsky weighed in on people who refuse to vote for Biden. He spoke to Mehdi Hassan here, and I'll let him speak for himself, and then I'll respond.
So you've talked very eloquently there about what's at stake. You summarized some of the issues from a second term of Trump. You say it's time to get rid of the malignancy in the White House. What do you then make of this very boisterous, very online, never Biden movement that we're seeing from some on the left, from some former Bernie people, including his own former national press secretary, some left-wing social media stars? What do you make of the never Biden movement?
Well, it also brings up some memories. The early 30s in Germany, the Communist Party, following the Stalinist line at the time, took the position that everybody but us is a social fascist. So there's no difference between the Social Democrats and the Nazis. So therefore, we're not going to join with the Social Democrats to stop the Nazi plague. But we know where that led. Okay, there are many other cases like that, and I think we're seeing a rerun of it. So let's take the position: never Biden. I'm not going to vote for Biden. There is such a thing. There's a thing called arithmetic. We can debate a lot of things, but not arithmetic. Failure to vote for Biden in this election in a swing state amounts to voting for Trump. Takes one vote away from the opposition, same as adding one vote to Trump. So if you decide you want to vote for the destruction of organized human life on Earth, for the sharp increase in threat of nuclear war, for stuffing the judiciary with young lawyers who will make it impossible to do anything for a generation, then do it openly. Okay, so yeah, that's what I want. But that's the meaning of never Biden.
Now, I have nothing but unending love and affection for Noam Chomsky. Honestly, he's one of the biggest influences on the way I think. I read a bunch of his stuff when I was younger. I watched a lot of, videos, lectures, interviews he gave early on YouTube. And he's just a really special guy. And, I don't want to be too hard on him here. However, I do find it interesting that Mehdi Hassan, who doesn't agree with not voting in this election, he's going to vote for Biden. He's not inviting on somebody who is taking that position to have that conversation with them. He's inviting on somebody who vehemently disagrees with that position, Noam Chomsky, and then Noam Chomsky goes out there and tells people who aren't going to vote for Biden why they're doing it and what they believe. Instead of you telling me what I believe, you just ask me, I'll tell you. And that's one thing I really can't stand is that there's a lot of talk about, the position I'm taking in this election. There's a lot of talk about it going around, and pretty much none of it has accurately characterized my beliefs. None of it. Even people who are somewhat sympathetic have tried to describe my position, and they're not doing it effectively. They always end up telling me I believe something that I don't believe. Okay, so let's break down some of what he says here. He says, a failure to vote for Biden amounts to voting for Trump. Now, you could assert that, but it's not true. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump. There's a reason why I'm not voting for Trump, and there's a reason why I would never vote for Trump. I don't want to vote for Trump. I disagree with him. I can give you 1,000 things that I disagree with him on, and I've argued against him consistently on this show. So, I've laid it out before, but that 2017 GOP tax cut law, 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. This is just, standard Republican politics on steroids. I'm under no illusions about who Donald Trump is and how he functions and what he's fighting for. We famously spoke about an issue on this show that it broke the record for least popular legislation ever implemented. Trump signed that bill. It was a bill, I forget the exact number. It was either a 6% approval rating or a 9% approval rating, and the bill totally guts your internet privacy rights. That's another thing. Trump has repeatedly deregulated the marketplace and destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So he's serving the rich. He just assassinated an Iranian military commander, and which of course pushed us to the brink of a hot war. He increased drone strikes 432%. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. I can go on and on, man. There's a reason I'm not voting for Trump. But he says a failure to vote for Biden amounts to voting for Trump. Let me give everybody a handy voting guide so they understand what each vote means, okay? A vote for Biden equals a vote for Biden. A vote for Trump equals a vote for Trump. A vote for Howie Hawkins, the Green Party candidate, equals a vote for Howie Hawkins, the Green Party candidate. A vote for nobody equals a vote for nobody. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. The fact that there's and this is why it's so frustrating, is that people who are badgering the left are refusing to engage honestly on the topic. They're refusing to accurately describe what your beliefs are, and they're refusing to accurately engage with it. Noam Chomsky would rather tell you what you believe and insult you than listen to what you're saying and then give a real response. And that's upsetting because it's not like Noam Chomsky doesn't have real responses. If he were to actually engage in this conversation honestly, he'd have perfect responses, and we could go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But instead of doing that, what does he do? He just asserts that you're doing something that you're not going to do. There's not a single person I know who's not voting, who views what they're doing as a vote for Trump, and who thinks what they're doing is a vote for Trump. It just doesn't exist. And you're not going to, by asserting that you think that's the case, you're not actually going to make that the case. No, I hate to tell you. Now, the other thing is, and again, it goes back to, why is it all the arguments of people trying to get guys like me to vote for Biden, why is it's all negative reinforcement? They never have anything positive to say about Joe Biden. It's always, he literally makes the comparison of Hitler rising to power and how the far left didn't want to compromise with the center left, and therefore, Hitler rose to power. I'll just say up front, man, I think any comparisons that have Trump being Hitler are honestly hyperbolic and kind of stupid. Sorry, and again, I have nothing but love and respect for Noam Chomsky, and he's a brilliant man. But I think he knows how lazy and ridiculous that is. Donald Trump is a monster. Donald Trump is terrible. I can give you 1,000 things he's done that are terrible. But as a general rule, I hope everybody's sitting down for this one because it's going to blow a lot of people's minds, okay? As a general rule, I think people who are taking, Chomsky's approach, people like Mehdi Hassan, they overestimate how bad Trump is, and they underestimate how bad Biden is. Now, what I did not just say is, I did not just say Trump and Biden are equally bad. I didn't say that. And I don't believe that. But I do think that your average, lefty who's going to vote for Biden overestimates how bad Trump is and underestimates how bad Biden is. In my opinion, both Trump and Biden are beyond the pale. And what I mean by beyond the pale is so egregiously bad that I can't force myself to vote for either one of them. I think they're both beyond the pale. I think it is true that Biden is not as bad as Trump. I think there are more areas where Biden isn't as bad as Trump. But I also think that there are some areas, as few as they may be, where Trump is a little bit better than Biden. And I've been given a few of them over the past couple days, but Biden was bragging about how he would have implemented TPP. He's in favor of TPP. Trump, at the very least, scrapped that deal. He took some of the provisions of TPP and put it in his new NAFTA, but he did scrap the original TPP. He was right about that. He's also right about trying to pursue détente with North Korea. Biden famously in the debates was talking about how we should be more hawkish with North Korea. More hawkish with them. Trump, pardoning Alice Johnson and doing the First Step Act. As much as I hate Trump, he was right on those things. Now, this is not me making an argument for Trump, because I just told you, they're both beyond the pale. They're both war criminals. They're both rapists. They're both beyond the pale. And I don't even think that they're the same. I think Biden is better on more issues. Namely, so much better on the courts, so much better on climate change, and throw in there most social issues, Biden is better. So I don't think they're the same. I think Biden is slightly better than Trump. There are a few issues where Trump is better, but Biden is slightly better overall. But I think they're both beyond the pale, to the point where I'm not going to cast a vote for a war criminal rapist. I'm not going to cast a vote for somebody who voted for the Iraq War and voted for NAFTA. This guy's responsible for outsourcing so many jobs and ruining people's lives. He's responsible for hundreds of thousands of dead Iraqi civilians. He has their blood on his hands. So I'm not going to vote for that guy. I'm also not going to vote for the guy who's continuing the Iraq War, continuing it, Trump is, as he pretends rhetorically like he's against it. Huge charlatan, con man, fraud. But again, my point is these guys overestimate how bad Trump is and underestimate how bad Biden is. And they also somehow, for whatever reason, have convinced themselves that Biden is not beyond the pale when I think he's beyond the pale as well, just like Trump is beyond the pale. And again, I would love it if we could have, if we could have a conversation with these people in which they don't strawman us, but I've yet to see that take place. I've yet to see that take place. Every single conversation with these people is like, they tell you what they think you believe. And then when you respond, you're like, no, you're not really stating that properly. And the other thing is, I'm not evangelical in my position. That's the other thing. Like, people have this weird sense that, like, I'm trying to convert people to my viewpoint. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not evangelical about my position. I'm not, a zealot. I'm just telling everybody this is what I'm going to do. I'm not saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and you better do the same thing. No, I don't care what you do. You do whatever the hell you want. So that's another thing that's like, it's like a weird, there's this assumption that, like, I must be trying to convert people to my way of thinking. No, I don't care. And the other thing is, I don't go as far as some other people in my position in that what I'm doing is not a strategy. Like, that's the other thing. People are saying, like, oh, Kyle's strategy is, if you don't vote, then you force the Democratic Party to take you more seriously, and you might get more of what you want. I mean, that might happen, but I doubt it. But either way, the reason I'm doing it is not strategic. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing is it's a principled thing. It's not strategy. And the principle is, I think Trump and Biden are both war criminal rapists, because they are. I think they're both beyond the pale. They are. So I'm not going to vote for them because they can't even pass my very, very lenient purity test. I mean, I've given my standards to people who say, under what scenario would you vote for Biden? I've already told you a million times. He would have to pass my standards, what I call my purity test, which is I have a position, my top 5 issues, okay? I need to be convinced Biden will not just say he's in favor of, but fight for 1 or 2 of my top 5 issues. Guess what, guys? I'm not convinced at all that he's going to do it. I'm really not. I don't think he's going to do any of my top 5 issues. So he fails that. Now, normally I'd say, okay, well, you're out of luck, so I'm not going to even consider voting for you now. But I took it a step further. And I said, all right, I'll make an exception. If Biden picks Nina Turner or Bernie Sanders for VP, then I'll vote for him. Even though I still don't think he would do any of the things I want, I would vote for him, because at least I know that there's a voice in the room that believes in almost everything I believe in, and they will constantly push him in the right direction. He's not going to do that either. He's not going to pick one of them for VP. So what do you want me to tell you? You're asked out. And actually, I made even another, exception. And that one is, if Bernie was strategic about this, Bernie could have got me to vote for Biden. And I told this on air before, but if Bernie went to Biden and said, listen, man, here's a list of 10 executive orders. You have to do these within the first 100 days of your administration. If you do that, I'm going to fight as hard as I possibly can to get you elected. If you don't do these things, good luck in November. Now, Bernie wouldn't do that, because that actually requires having a backbone and saying, no, I'll walk away. I'll walk away. So he didn't do that, and he wouldn't do that. But if he did do that, I guarantee you guys, Biden either would have said, okay, I'll do these executive orders, or Biden would say, I can't do these 5. They're a little too extreme, but I will do these other 5 you gave me. And then, Bernie could have had that piece of paper and waved it in in the face of people like me and said, look, idiot, look what you're leaving on the table if you don't vote for Biden. And again, through executive orders, a president could do a lot of stuff. A lot. He could legalize marijuana. Just take it off the, banned substances list. That's it. Legal in all 50 states. If Bernie got Biden to do that, if Bernie got Biden to sign the Buy America executive order, where we increase production and manufacturing in this country and increase the number of jobs by, basically having more manufacturing here at home and not importing and the federal government buying stuff from China and Israel and elsewhere. Like, there were a number of executive orders that he could have put on his desk, said, hey man, we have our disagreements, but these we could agree on. So here, do all these executive orders. Then he could have said, here, Kyle, if you don't vote for Biden, you're leaving this on the table. And since I'm a reasonable dude, I'd be like, okay, great, now I'll vote for him because I have something tangible. Not this airy-fairy, we're going to have task forces where I could placate you all day long. No, because that's nonsense. You're not going to do any of that stuff. But if you got me tangibles and said, he is going to do these executive orders in the first 100 days, what do you want me to do? Of course I'm going to come out here and argue for Biden because I care about those executive orders. But there are no executive orders because Bernie didn't do it. So anyway, I've given you 3 very clear scenarios in which I could have supported Biden, and they didn't do any of it. They didn't do any of it. So what do you want me to do? Have no standards? Have no beliefs? Have no core principles? Throw it all out the window because he's slightly less evil than the other guy? I hate to tell you guys, but there's an option called, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to sit out. And contrary to what Noam Chomsky is telling you here, that's not a vote for Trump. Because here's the deal. Why can't you flip it as well? Why can't you flip it? I just told you I agree with Trump on TPP more than I agree with Biden on TPP. I agree with Trump on the First Step Act. I agree with Trump on North Korea more than Biden's position on North Korea. Why can't I flip it? Why can't they say, Trump supporters could look at me and say, hey, since you're not voting for Trump, that's a vote for Biden. Why can't they say that? See, the logic doesn't make sense, Noam. Be honest and upfront with people and accurately describe their beliefs. A vote for Biden is a vote for Biden. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump. A vote for the Green Party is a vote for the Green Party. A vote for nobody is a vote for nobody. And, yeah. So the position I'm taking, there were ways in which Biden could have gotten me to support him. But he's not going to do any of those things. So I'm not going to support him. But again, my move is not strategic. It's just principle. It's just, I don't want to vote for a war criminal rapist who doesn't pass any of my lenient standards. That's it. I'm not saying, I don't want to vote for a war criminal rapist who doesn't pass my lenient standards. And by the way, what I'm doing is going to work in the long run and make the Democrats. No, I have no idea if that's true or not. It's not really about that. I don't care. Because it's very possible they turn around and blame me more. And I'll take it. I'll own it. Fine, yeah. Yep. My actions led to Trump getting reelected. You got it. So I guess you got to listen to me now, right? Now, my guess is if Biden loses, they will blame people like me. And then I can turn around and say, sure, fine, blame me. But now you got to listen to me because you just said you need my vote. And they're still probably not going to listen. So, so in other words, I'm not playing like chess here. And like, ooh, if I do this, then they're going to do this. And I think that's, maybe where I differ from other people who are in the not voting camp, is that I'm not, looking at this thing optimistically. Like, I'm not looking at it through rose-colored glasses, like, oh, if I do this, then I'll get all the power back and, No, it's just, I don't want to vote for a war criminal rapist who doesn't pass any of my lenient standards, so I'm just going to sit it out. It's really that simple. And the final thing I'll say is, if Mehdi Hasan and Noam Chomsky, if they spent 1/10 of the time trying to push Biden to be further left, trying to push Biden to take Bernie for VP or Nina Turner, if they spent 1/10 the time doing that they do badgering lefties, then Biden would get a lot more votes. And this is the other thing I resent about this, is that it's always put on us, where they're like, it's on you. No, it's not on me. I just told you all the ways in which I could support Biden, and he's not going to do any of those things. And you're badgering me instead of badgering him to do those things. So maybe focus on him. And these arguments that they're using, these like negative reinforcement type arguments, I think are just so demeaning. They're demeaning because it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves as well as they try to convince you. They're trying to convince themselves that they're doing the right thing. But, I think you'd get a hell of a lot further if you actually made coherent arguments on the areas where Biden is better than Trump. I think that, you would probably gain more Biden voters if you were like, no, listen, let me tell you about the Paris Climate Agreement. Let me tell you about the courts. Let me tell you about abortion rights. If you focus on the areas where Biden is better and made a positive case for him based on those things, I think you get a hell of a lot more supporters for Biden than doing what they did, which is telling people who aren't voting that actually you're voting for Trump when they're not, or making a hyperbolic analogy of Trump being Hitler and, you're not uniting to stop Hitler. We know what that led to. Really, Noam? You're going to invoke the Holocaust in this conversation? Really? It's just so sad that this is the lengths they go to in order to try to make their case. And it's all hyperbolic. It's all, shaming, insulting. None of it is really, honestly engaging with what you believe and what you're saying. It's all just, kind of looking down their nose at you and scorn and, and also just notice the lack of an argument in what he's saying. Because if all you do is say, Trump is like Hitler, basically, well, then it's like they don't have to say anything else to try to get you to come over. Like I said, I think they overstate how bad Trump is and they understate how bad Biden is. That's not saying they're the same, but it's saying they're both beyond the pale, in my opinion. But anyway, listen, guys, I don't want to be in this position that I'm in. Like I said, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to have you guys agree with me. I don't care who you vote for. I'm totally fine if you want to go vote for Biden. If you want to go vote for Trump, if you want to go vote for nobody, I have no stake in what you're going to do. So I'm not evangelical about this. The only thing that pisses me off, though, is when other people start talking about my position and what I'm going to do, and they just say absurd things and ridiculous things and hyperbolic things and make no sense and almost insult in the process. That's why I come out here and do these segments. Is not because I'm trying to convert people to do what I'm going to do, but because I cannot let it stand when they make such terrible points as they just made here. Because honestly, it's comical, and Noam Chomsky and Mehdi Hassan are way, way better than this kind of nonsense.